Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Leached On, a podcast where I'm leached onto a certain topic for 15 minutes or more. Hello, it is June. It is June 8th. Don't mean to promo on my YouTube, but I'm currently starting kind of a new little vlog mini-series. Just vlogged my time that I spent in Oak Island and Wilmington. I'm looking forward to getting that edited and posted, and then I'm also looking forward to vlogging when I go up to Nashville, Tennessee for the first time sometime in 2 weeks. Now, to get that kind of promotion alongside, if you're really interested in watching that type of content aside from my podcast content, that is on my YouTube with my channel named Priscilla Medina, same way that my name is here on the podcast, Priscilla Medina. And if you guys stumble across from it, please let me know that you're from my podcast. That'd be awesome if somehow I attracted more people from my podcast to my YouTube. But nonetheless, I do both. I like to think that my YouTube is like my more ecstatic side, my more non-advice giving side. But I did want to say Happy Pride Month. I don't know if I already said that. Somewhere in my head, I think I already said that. But it is June. And I kind of wanted to talk more. I did have a podcast titled Sexuality, but I really didn't talk about my sexuality as much as I did to really label it sexuality. So I think it's more appropriate to title like this one Sexuality, and me just kind of talk about sexuality and give advice to those who struggle with either expressing their sexuality or really be able to have more insight on it. Because when I had previously spoken about it, it was 2023. That was 2 years ago, right? I think I've went through more of an experience. I've went through more people who I've learned were part of the community than I thought they were. With me personally, growing up, it was like a trend. When I say growing up, I mean like 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. Those are my growing up years. That's what I consider my growing up years. It had been almost a trend to be gay. Everybody wanted to be gay. I first came out my 5th grade year. And yes, I had a supportive mother and a supportive father. I had supportive figures at home. Kind of coming to school the next day was a bit rough, considering that my coming out was almost forced. It was like one of those like rumor things. And it was more of like my friend's parent had found out and had like, as a way of concern, as a mode of concern, they reached out to my mother about it. And then it was like, oh, well, now I got to be honest with her. I got to tell her. She's asking me about it. I got to tell her. Can't lie to my mom. So for me, it was almost rushed. I didn't have time to really tell my mom I was until a little later. I suppose my mom thought it was more of a phase and then I had grown out of it. And so I had made a TikTok, it was TikTok in 6th grade. And it was like the girls want to play with boys and the boys want to play with girls. And that was about, that's a naughty that people do when they come out to their parents. So I did it with my mom, and she didn't get it, obviously. And so I told her again, just to be like, this wasn't something I grew out of. Like, I am gay. Like, I am attracted to women. Like, it's not something I'm going to grow out of. And same thing, really supportive. Like, my mom, I think she literally kind of, not brushed it off, but was just like, oh, yeah, I know. Was kind of just like, what is there to talk about? And my mom has always been supportive of every relationship I've been in since. She's very welcoming, almost integrates my significant others as family, and stuff like that. Like, she's very outgoing about it, isn't shy, doesn't, even around her side of the family, they also will always recognize my girlfriends as my girlfriends. Gosh, that makes me sound like player girlfriends. No, just like whoever my significant other at the time. And so with that, I have always, for me, I'm really grateful because I would like to say that out of most of the very out homosexuals I know in my town, I have been able to receive more positive than negative. Don't get me wrong. I have been excluded from things. I have been bullied when I was a kid. And honestly, I probably do need to mention some stuff like that or stories like that to my therapist, because I just tend to just forget about them. But I had been, there was, when I was younger in those growing up stages, in making my sexuality a part of me, because this is just where I stand on it. I'm not somebody who I will introduce myself as gay. I don't do that. I honestly don't even think it's appropriate. When somebody else does introduce themselves to me as they are a part of the community, yes, I feel more comfort. It's like, I'm like, when they tell me that, like, I'm just able to just like sigh, and I'm like, okay, it's safe. So that's awesome. I appreciate when other people tell me that they are, but I feel like I wear myself in a way where you can already tell. And yes, assuming isn't good, so I still get asked to this day if I am. There are some people who, after I get to know them, they'll, still ask me, like, hey, are you gay? And I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, thank you for asking. I haven't had it, like, affect my work. I honestly think, the state I live in, it's probably just, like, you don't ask. You kind of just hire, and if it becomes a problem in the workplace, it becomes a problem in the workplace. But I still do enjoy my own identity separate from it, right? Like, yes, that means if I were to pursue my romantic, it would be a girl, and that's what I hope to make a family out of, is a family with 2 mothers. But I don't want that to just, like, have people see that's the only thing they see in me, right? I'm a lot more than that. And so when it comes to more, again, like, professional places like school and work, I don't like the people I see as role models in those areas to, like, I don't introduce myself or bring any problems I have with that to the workplace, or I really try not to school. Honestly, it was really rough for me. School was a bit rougher last year because I had brought all my problems to school. For me, school used to be an escape. It used to be like the place I always wanted to be. I enjoyed being at school. I enjoyed meeting new people. I enjoyed making connections with my teachers. But last year, yes, it was my junior, and yes, everybody says it's rough, but it's really what you make of it. Yes, I had taken harder classes, but honestly, it wasn't I'm being so honest right now. For me, the roughest part wasn't the coursework, it was the people I had in my classes. And I had kind of went through a series of, like, being left out by mass groups of people, and I had went through just really not having a stable person I could go to in any of my classes because everybody had their own people, and I did not like feeling like that. I felt like, I wouldn't even say a floater friend, I just felt like a floater person. I felt like I really didn't belong anywhere in any of the classes I took both semesters. And that's saying my first semester I had, like, an elective class that was mainly freshmen, and yes, I got to know a bunch of freshmen. I'm grateful for that. And yes, there was one person in particular that I did talk to in that class, but even in that class, like, I utilized it as, like, my studying period or to get my work done. I didn't really, like, use it as a socializing class. And that's the thing, like, every year I had in my high school career, like, I had used one of my elective classes as my socializing class, and that's to say, last year, my sophomore year, I had an art class with nobody I knew. I had more upperclassmen, more seniors that year, and I was a sophomore, and I was just able to kick it off and make connections with them that year. So that was really neat. And I did use my elective class this year to also do that, but it was just, like, same thing. Those freshmen had freshmen that they knew in that class, so it was kind of just, like, I had to make myself a presence. I had to make myself known in times like that. But needless to say, when I had last recorded an episode in 2023 that I had talked about my sexuality, I had mentioned that there was probably a good, like, everybody that I knew that was gay or outwardly gay, I could count them on my hands. Now, being honestly an uprising senior and knowing the freshmen in this class, already familiar with most of the sophomores of the class, and obviously knowing my own class and then the class above me, I do think that there are a lot more. I've been grateful to know a lot more people who are that, and even have younger underclassmen come to me for stuff like that in confidence. Now, I would also say that there are a lot more closeted people, and I don't think that it's due to school culture, but I definitely think it's due to at-home culture. And there was a time in my life where I thought that it's something as easy as butter, And even though my mentality is like that because I have had such a welcoming environment, and everyone I had known around me who had wanted to come out after a good talking to, they also ended up having a supportive community after time. I've also been exposed to, honestly, relationships that it is not like that, and have spoken to people who it wouldn't be as easy for them to do something like that. And I think that also goes to show that I do like to look at more the positives. And honestly, I would say, as somebody who has, like, I wasn't somebody who was gay and then switched up. I mean, there's like 4 people I could think of that when I think of like fake gays, they were that. Like, they came out as gay for the trend and then ended up not. And that's fine. You're not supposed to, but it's just like they just wanted to feel included, I guess. And when it was a big thing, they wanted to be a big thing. But and now, they're staying true to themselves, have boyfriends and and stuff like that. But I have realized that it's really, I do think that still communication is key, and I know that it is scary, but I still support that a conversation should be held. But alas, I think everybody also has different dynamics with their parents. Me and my mom don't have like a, oh wow, we're best friends vibe, but I know that I can tell my mom anything, and I don't need to hide things from my mom. Like, me and my mom are very open in that sense, but that's my dynamic. I have been exposed to people who their parents still have a kind of power dynamic with them. Like, I'm the parent and you're the child. You're going to act like the child and I'm going to be the parent. And there's no way around situations like that. I think you should always work around what is best for your safety, because some people would honestly be endangered if they had been authentically themselves, and that's sad. It's really sad. I do think that some people also have fear of rejection from their parents, and that's what holds them back. And I personally think that is more of an ego-driven thing. I feel like if the worst thing that your parents can do is just say that they're disappointed in you and you run off of their approval so much to that fact, I think that there's another underlying conflict there. Just because if that's the worst thing that can happen, there definitely is like a power struggle there, afraid to feel powerless in your own home to parent authority figures. But if it's more like if you were to say something, they would lay their hands on you, I think that that's just out of safety. Because realistically, problems can be spoken over, even if parents have poor communication styles. It would just be the matter of fact of being so sure of yourself that you can handle it. And some people can't. Some people cannot. I have met people who cannot. And that's okay. But it just goes to show how long that I'm going to put myself in an environment like that. Because I'm not going to lie, putting yourself around environments that you cannot agree with is rough. It is rough. Honestly, if stayed in soil long enough like that, your flowers will wilt. And at that point, your self-esteem is wilting. You as a whole are wilting. I still am very optimistic, and I do think that, again, a conversation can change many things. Wars were done over conversations. So conversations have power. They do. I think it's just building that power and going through it. Again, some people just aren't. Some people are not. And it's sad, but I'm grateful that the people I know of as my close friends have always supported me, don't judge me have always been quick to give me advice about, relationships with girls that I was struggling with, or if I was taking interest in girls, being supportive in that. I've always had friends that are very, I'm grateful to have my close-knit friends, the people I entrust, to be welcoming and reassuring in that. And I think that's the make it or break it for situations like coming out. And especially with Pride Month being, honestly, federally recognized, I think has been able to make the conversation around the LGBTQ community a lot more easing. I think June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I do think that that also does need to be recognized in its own thing, in the sense that everybody struggles. Everybody does struggle with mental health. And I think that those who need help should get help. And no matter what gender they are, sexuality, race, religion. If anybody comes to me for advice or needing help, I never look at them for what they are, who they are. I just know that it is a fellow person with a beating heart that needs help. And that's what I will provide. So I do think that both months can coexist, and there's no reason to put down the other. If you are a lesbian putting down a man for struggling with mental health, you're just as bad as a man putting down a pansexual during that same month. So, I think people need to be more considerate of their neighbors. I do think that, honestly, that's something I could talk about for more than 50 minutes. Because, yes, in my life growing up, I have had now that I think about it, I have struggled with my comfortability around men. I have. I have been in relationships where I've been left for a man. I've had relationships where I felt insecure towards a man. I've had relationships where men were always prioritized over me. Whether that be boy best friends or ex-boyfriends that have resurfaced in their life, or whatever it may be. Okay, it's not one relationship that I've went through in this. I've almost had a problem with a man in almost all of my relationships. Actually, not even almost. Actually, yeah, and almost. There's one that comes to mind that I didn't have a problem with a man. But with that being said, it has almost been a problem with me, but I still have guy friends. I still will always treat a man with respect. I treat everybody with respect. There's no difference. But I'm specifically pointing out men in this case because I think when we get to see people as people, and people who carry baggage and are scarred and et cetera, we can tend to have more sympathy for one another. Now, again, I will say, granted, there are genuinely some assholes out there. There are assholes, but they don't have to just be men. They can be men. They can be women. I've met asshole women. I've met asshole men. I've met asshole gay people. I've met assholes in all regions. They're not limited to anything. And I think that I honestly think that people should see people more as like, okay, you're an asshole. You have patterns of being an asshole. And yes, granted, they can change, but I genuinely believe for there to be a change, the person themselves have to recognize that there's a problem with what they're doing. If they don't, and their environment sees them as oh man, you're so awesome, you don't have to change anything, and genuinely they are a problem, that they're never going to change because they have a supporting environment on their behaviors. I'm always grateful that I have never had an environment like that, because I know if I'm doing something wrong, I will have my own friends look out for me and say, hey, you're doing something wrong. You honestly handled that really negatively. Let's work this through. Let's talk about it. Let's fix this. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful I've always had an environment like that versus an environment that is willing to just support me because it's me. And I have been around people who they are always supported in an environment for them being them, and it's sad. It's sad because when I'm honest and blunt, it's somehow an attack on their character, or I see them as somebody that they're not, and it's hey, I'm seeing you. Look, I'll be honest from the get-go. I will always keep it a buck. There are people that I'm just around, and it's just oh my goodness, I will say how I feel. I will say it with no shame. I'm not a supporter of keeping things bottled up or hiding things. I'm not a supporter of that. I will never say something like that on my podcast. Do I think that there's a difference? You need to be aware of appropriate timings? Yes, because even I'm aware of appropriate timings. If I'm at somebody's funeral and my friend's being completely narcissistic, let's say, this is just a really wild take. I'm not going to sit there and make the funeral about my friend being narcissistic. No, I'm going to keep note of it. And then, maybe if we're just chilling and vibing, I'll be listen, you can tend to be very narcissistic and like, I mean, I still freak with you. Like, I still fuck with you, bro. Like, we still, yogurt. But you do have that problem. And I don't think that people are what their flaws are. I do not believe that. I know I'm not my flaws. I have been around people who have seen me as just my flaws, and it is bombarding. It is overwhelming. It is saddening that's all I'm seen as. And I do not like feeling that way. So I would never make somebody else to feel that way. Yes, I'm also a a strong believer in treating people how you want to be treated. Because if you treat yourself good, you will treat others good. Period. There is no argument. If you treat yourself like shit, you will treat others like shit. And I know it because when I treating myself, I do that. And I have seen other people that when I've gotten to know them outside of their shitty nature, it's just because they have underlying self issues. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just something that needs to be addressed. And I'm saying all this to say that, 2 months can coexist. It can be both mental health month and Pride month. If anything, honestly, I think the people who need the most love are minorities of men. And not every man struggles with mental health. And not every man struggles with mental health. And not every man is gay or in the LGBTQIA plus community. So with that, I think people need to be conscious that both things can coexist. And as a lesbian speaking, I'm part of one of the communities to kind of keep my community in check. But, and if you're listening to this and you didn't know I was gay, hi, I am gay. I guess that's the best way I can introduce it now this deep. But, yeah, I'll leave it with that, and I will see you guys later.